Well, I would like to welcome you to Musket Talk, okay? Which, of course, will have something to do with our Second Amendment. Now, would somebody be glad to quote for us the Second Amendment in its entirety?
It means recite the Second Amendment. Nice and loud. Go to the mic.
Go to the mic, Kid Constitution.
A well-regulated... Is it doing it? A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Good. Now, I hope that you remember that first part, talking about a well-regulated militia, does not mean a government-controlled militia. It means well-trained. And all of you, of course, are getting very well-trained at Camp Constitution about a lot of things. And, of course, it says all that's essential for that free republic, and I'm adding a little touch to it, is a musket. And somebody who knows how to use it, okay? This is a replica. People always ask me, is that the real thing? Trust me, this is the real thing. But it's a replica of a 1766 Charleville, or some call it Charlieville. That's a French word, actually, Charleville. And 20,000 of these were delivered by the French to the Continental Army and George Washington in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Now, the reason why is because the competition between European nations, for example, that the French said, well, you know that we actually make better firearms than the British do, and we'll get some to you and we'll prove it. So this is what they sent. It's got a 44-inch barrel. It fires a 69 caliber ball, and it uses 91 grams of black powder for a regular charge. Now, some sharpshooters would actually put 2 or 3 cartridges, in other words, about 270 grams of black powder, so that they could increase the distance. And a lot of times they would do that on purpose because most of the soldiers opposing our Continental troops knew the distance, looking at the firearms, that they could shoot. So they'd stay outside the distance. Well, sometimes they put more powder in there. Of course, about in the first year or two of the war, the Spanish heard that the French sent these Charleville over, and so the King of Spain says, I've got better weapons in my arsenal than the French do, and they sent us, and most people as Americans don't know how much help we got from the Spanish as well during the War for American Independence. But this is an excellent firearm, and it is definitely a thunderstick, and you will see that fire comes out of the end of it. So you understand why it's called a firearm, right? Because when your arm is on it and it looks like your arm is extended, fire comes out of your arm. And of course, many of the Native American Indians use those terms. We want fire sticks. We want firearms. We want thundersticks. They just were describing what they saw, and they liked them. They even liked them better than stuff that they had. Now, there's some musket talk, even today, that we use. For example, lock, stock, and barrel. Here is the lock, and that's why it's called a flint lock, because this locks in a piece of flint. And while it's a stock and barrel. Lock, stock, and barrels. So that's a firearm terminology. And incidentally, the British early on decided that they would not let us get the good flint that we were buying from them. When we rebelled against them, they cut off our source of good flint. We had to find other sources of flint, and they also had early cut off our capacity to make rifle barrels or musket barrels. We had a superior iron ore in western Massachusetts in the Berkshires, and the British put a law against that so that they knew that at some point in time we would be making those superior musket barrels out of our superior ore, and so they didn't want us to have better barrels than they had. When you go to war, you don't want your enemy, so to speak, to have better stuff than you. The other thing is, you've probably heard, don't go off half cocked. Well, that's full cocked, but we want half cocked is right there, okay? There's a reason for that. Don't be a flash in the pan. A flash in the pan, this is the pan, and you put a little, if you will, fire starter in there. We'll show you that in a minute. So those are all musket talks. Lock, stock, and barrel, don't go off half cocked. Don't be a flash in the pan. Now, you see at my side here, I have a cartridge box. This actually came from the movie, how many of you saw the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson? A friend of mine, knowing that I do all these things, bid at auction and got me this cartridge box that was in the movie The Patriot. Needless to say, that was a very good friend that did that. And he'll stay a good friend as a result of that too. Okay, so what we do is this. We're at half cocked, okay? We just want to make sure that we're at half cocked here, okay? It will not fire in half cocked, and you want to know that. You take the cartridge and you bite it off, and I'm going to just spit it on the ground. We'll pick it up later. Don't worry about that. When you're in a war, you don't worry about the EPA and trash, right? So you bite the end off, spit it out, and you're going to put just enough grains of it, if you will, in there like that. That's your fire starter, okay? You're going to close this over so you don't spill it out. Then you're going to go like this. Now think about this, how fast you need to do this if you're being charged. There's also a bayonet lug that if it doesn't fire, and if it's a rainy day or it's a misty day or some other thing, you might have to use this as a club or like a spear. Okay, so you've pulled out your ramrod. Now you take your powder, 91 grams of it. You put it down in there. You actually you would use that as what's called wadding if we were putting the 69 caliber. And the 69 caliber ball, just to tell you, the ramrod of a 12 gauge shotgun is what I use to clean this. So that tells you how big it is. So you ram that down there. And incidentally, a few years ago, and Mr. Moore remembers this, when I spoke in Nurses Hall in Boston at Beacon Hill, they weren't going to let me in with the musket. And I said, it isn't even loaded, I don't have any powder, I don't have any charge. And I proved to a state trooper there by going like this. If you can drop it in there and you don't hear it clink, clink and bounce back, there is no ball in there. And never assume when you see a musket over the fireplace in an old house that it isn't loaded and ready to go, because most Minutemen, they left them ready to go. All right, so we pull out our ramrod and we put it back where it came from, out of the way, like that. So now we go up and we say, all right, get ready to fire, pull back, ready, fire.
Cool.
That's how it goes. Okay? We're going to. All right, who of our adults? Reverend Kraft, you're ready.
So where do I?
Okay? You hold the firearm,
Okay, where do I hold? Okay,
however you
right
want to
here?
fire it. You're going to take your charge. And I roll these cartridges myself by measuring out the powder. Okay, what are we going to do now? You're going to bite the end of that off, right? Without getting my finger.
I got false teeth now.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know that. Well, maybe. Oh, okay. All right, now what are we going to do?
Put it right.
We're going to
Put a little bit.
A little bit in there. How's
Uh-huh.
that? That's probably good. I'm going to flip that down. Okay, now we're going to set it down. What are you going to do next?
Take this out, right?
Yep, pull your ramrod out. That's called a ramrod.
Okay. Now
Now what are you going to do?
take the rest of the powder and put it in the barrel.
Okay,
Right?
go ahead.
You put all the powder in there.
All of it.
Is there any danger when you're shooting a lot and the barrel gets hot and it could go off while the point of powder?
I've never had that happen or seen that happen. Make sure you get all the powder in there. But it could. I mean, the barrel does get hot. Time, it was not that much rapid firing going on. And of course, when we finally figured out have one rank fire, go back, have another rank fire, but it could. It's a very heavy barrel, actually. Okay, now you stuff the paper in there. No,
Huh?
you need the paper.
Oh, your paper goes in there?
Yeah.
I ain't see it.
Paper goes in there, just like that. Now what are you going to do?
Okay, take your ramrod.
Yeah, what end are you going to use?
Oh, this it?
There you go. Just stuff it on down in there, all the way down. That's it. Very good. Yeah, that's good. Pull it out.
Huh? I rebuked that Pete.
Well, that's very important lesson. Really. Well, you can see there were some people actually who were so good they get to being able to do 4 in a minute.
Wow, that's fast.
That's pretty fast. Now remember, you learn how to do that when you look and you see all these red coats coming at you, or anyone else for that matter. Okay?
Is that all the way in there?
Yep, that's it. That's all the way in. Now you're going to hold it up, face that direction.
Okay, now where do I brace the stink of the barrel?
Against your shoulder would be good. You could do it that way, wherever you feel comfortable. Put your arm underneath the sling. There you go. And when you're ready to fire, you're going to pull this
It
back.
keeps slipping on my shoulder though.
Well, hold it whatever way you can.
Well, that's why I'm trying to figure what's gonna be coming.
Face that way.
Oh, yeah.
Ready? Okay, now you ready?
Uh-huh.
You're going to pull this back. Pull back the hammer all the way. All the way. Keep going. That's it. Good. Okay? When you're ready to fire, you pull the trigger.
Lord Jesus. Glory! Huh? Roaring on the outside.
Okay, tri-corner Tom, your turn.
Did you get a picture?
Oh, not all the way.
That's
just
a half.
cock.
That's a half.
That's it. Good. Okay.
Let me not aim this at anyone either.
Here's your cartridge. You gotta bite the end of it off. Get the paper out. Make sure you don't
Wasn't there a requirement that they had to have teeth? 3 teeth, I think.
I guess so, yeah. It's not all of it. Just
Very good.
a little more. There you go. Good.
Okay.
Now what are you gonna do next?
This gets pulled back.
That gets pulled back. Okay.
And this?
No, not
Oh,
yet.
not yet.
Not yet. Because if you fully cock it, it can go off. So you can't go off by accident because when it's half cocked.
Pour first.
Pour it all the way in, all of it, the whole thing. And then put the paper and then get out your ramrod. There was nothing there. Yeah, pull your ramrod. And I believe that this is Mr. Moore's first time.
It didn't go off the last time. We tried
Right.
before.
First time actually firing one. Okay. Now what are you going to do next? There you go. When you're ready to fire, you fire.
Liberty! Huzzah! It did that before. This gun doesn't like me, Pastor. That's 2.
I don't know. And when you're ready, you pull it back all the way. And lift it up and you fire.
Really?
Oh, that was funny.
Now, well, I don't have any more powder. It's in there, so. But I will be glad to let you use.
It really is.
Let you see it and hold the weight of it. Okay. No, where's Dominic? Dominic, what was your question? Okay.
Can I get a picture of it? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of gun is that?
It's called a 1766 Charleville Musket.
Huh. Can I